All right, peace to the 12. Y'all see the title, man. The Black Son of God. I'll repeat that one more time. The Black Son of God. And we're going to be touching on one of the Israelites and their name, which is the name on the screen, the name Cush. All right, and also an Israelite by the name of Cushi. All right, we're going to be touching on what the word Cush means. We're going to be going on that. And the reason I say Son of God is because an Israelite is a prince of God. The name Israel means prince of power, prince of God. All right, some call it translated as he that wrestles with God. But, anyway, that's the title of this video. And this is really a piggyback off of a comment that I made on the last video I did on the Moors and the Moabites, where I mentioned Zephaniah's father and how his name was Cushi. And I said I'm going to go ahead and do a breakdown on it, which I was going to do this as a little short breakdown, but I went ahead and went in depth on it just to prove our identity. That's what I like to do the most. I like to go into the history and prove our identity. Meaning that what? We're the real deal Holyfield Israelites. All right, so anyway, let me prove what I said first about the name Israel meaning the Prince of God. So let's get that in the scriptures. So we go to Exodus chapter 4. Or let's prove that the Israelites are the sons of God, all right, and are considered sons of God. You go to Exodus 4:22, which reads, "And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, Thus saith the Lord, Yahawah, Israel is my son, even my firstborn." It also tells you that in Hosea 11:1, "When Israel was a child, then I loved him and called my son out of Egypt." So the Israelites are known as sons of God, right? Genesis 32:28. And this is how he got the name too, by the way. So this is twofold. Genesis 32:28. "And he said, Thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with God and with men, and hast prevailed." So in order to be a prince, you have to be what? You have to be a son. So that's why I told you that Israel means prince of God. Yashar El, or really it's Yashar Allah. All right, but the modern term they say Yashar El. It's really Yashar Allah, which just means prince of God, a prince of power. Right? And how I said Yasharel, when you watch Superman, you got the guy named Kal-El. The word Kal-El, that means all power. Superman has all the power. Super speed, super strength, frost breath, all that, right? That's because his name is Kal-El, which means all power. He has all the powers, right? Anyway. So, like I said, in the last video I did on the Moors and the Moabites, you want to learn about that, go watch that. I mentioned that Zephaniah's father's name was Cushi, right? So Zephaniah's father's name was Cushi. Of course, Zephaniah was a prophet. That was an Israelite, right? But also, his father's name was Cushi. We're going to be looking up what this word Cushi means and why would he be named this. All right, so we're going to go to Zephaniah chapter 1, verse 1, which reads, "The word of the Lord Yahawah, which came unto Zephaniah, the son of Cushi, the son of Gedaliah, the son of Amariah, the son of Hezekiah, in the days of Josiah, the son of Amon, king of Judah." So Zephaniah was the son of Cushi, right? Now we're about to be going into the words like Cush and Cushi. And when I say Cush, I'm not talking about the loud pack that your cousin is selling on Snapchat for the low. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Cush and its meaning, which really means black, right? And you can see there's a guy named Cushi all throughout the script. Well, really all throughout the Old Testament, whether it's 2 Samuel, Jeremiah 36:14, or Zephaniah 1:1. Cushi, 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 right? So for those of you that don't know, the word Cushi means their blackness, an ancestor of Yehudi, the father of the prophet Zephaniah. Cushi, the same Cushi, the name of two Israelites. So Cushi means their blackness. So Cushi is a term of speaking of blackness. Really, it's talking about a black skin complexion. As a matter of fact, even to this very day, self-proclaimed so-called rabbis, they call dark-skinned people Cushi, right? Now the word Cushi, check this out. Cushi or Ethiopian. See, Cushan, their blackness. One of the descendants of Cush, the grandson of Noah through Ham, and a member of that nation of people. Cushi, Cushite, descendant of Cush, Cushi, Cushite, Ethiopian. So, when we look at the Ethiopians, which are Hamites, right? The Ethiopians, their progenitor, their patriarch is Cush, right? and through Cush you get Nimrod as well, but it's Cush. Now, Cush was named for his blackness, their blackness, very dark skin. So one would ask the question, why was Zephaniah's father named Cushi? Now, I looked into this, and they were like, oh, because Cushi was, it meant he was a rebellious or some dumb stuff they try to say. But anyway, I want you to think about that. Why would they name him Cushi? All right, if that's the name of an Ethiopian, which means blackness. But we're gonna go, and I'm also gonna show you at the end of this video that there were other Israelites that had names that also meant black, not just Cushi. All right. Oh man, my computer froze. Come on, bro. And we're also gonna go to historical data proving what I'm saying too, right? And I'll say this right now, like I've been saying lately. If you're another nation, and you say, I don't think it means that. I listen. I don't care what you have to say, and I don't care what you think it means. I don't want your interpretation. My videos are for the 12 tribes of Israel only. I don't need the input of another nation. It will not be counted for anything for me, to be honest with you. Just being honest. But anyway, so cushite, yeah, right. In the dictionary, Smith's Bible Dictionary, Cushi means properly the Cushite, the Ethiopian, right? So, once again, why would you name someone after an Ethiopian? Which, once again, Cushi means blackness. Isn't that interesting? But it says Cushi or Cushi is to refer to a dark-skinned person of African descent, equivalent to Ethiops. Cushi or Cushi is generally used in Hebrew Bible to refer to a dark-skinned person of African descent. Cushi also goes back to the Cushites. Cushites means blackness, tall, smooth-skinned people, blackness. All right. Isn't that interesting that Zephaniah, the prophet's father's name was Cushi? Isn't that interesting, right? Now, let's read on. So not only was there Israelites that were named Cushi, you also have Israelites that were named Cush. All right. Cush was the name of a Benjamite. So clearly that means these people were dark skinned. That's where I'm getting at, right? That's where I'm getting at in this video. But let's get that example. So you have Cush, which you read about in Genesis 10 and 6. And it says, and the sons of Ham, Cush and Mizraim and Phut and Canaan. So one of the sons of Ham, which was a Hamite, would be Cush, right? And yet, when you go to Psalm 7 and 1, it says, Shiggaion of David, this is Psalm 7 and 1, Shiggaion of David, which he sang unto the Lord Yahawah concerning the words of Cush, the Benjamite. O Lord Yahawah my God, in thee do I put my trust. Save me from all them that persecute me and deliver me. So we have a Benjamite who was named Cush, which once again the word Cush means black. It also goes back to the Ethiopians, and it was the name of a Benjamite. Isn't that interesting? And the word Cush is synonymous with the word Ethiopia. As a matter of fact, Ethiopia in the Hebrew, it just says Kus or Cush, right? And look, once again, Hitchcock's Bible Name Dictionary, Cush, Cushion, Cushy, Ethiopians, blackness. All right. Smith's Bible Dictionary, Cush, black. A Benjamite. Mentioned only in the title of Psalms, the first chapter. All right. So you have Israelites named Cushy and Israelites named Cush. Isn't that interesting? Which once again means blackness. What are they trying to tell you? All right. This is and what is a Benjamite? A Benjamite is one of the 12 tribes. Of course, a Benjamite goes back to the tribe of Benjamin. All right, and Benjamin, or really it's Benjamin, means a son of the right hand. Right, Benjamin, the tribe descended from Benjamin, the son of Jacob, one of the 12 tribes. Right, tells you that in Genesis 49 and 27. Benjamin shall ravine as a wolf. In the morning he shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel. And this is it that their father spake unto them and blessed them. Everyone according to his blessing he blessed them. So the 12 tribes of Israel, Benjamin is among them. Right? Now so that was the quick part of the word Cush. what it means, and that there were sons of God, which are Israelites, that were named Cush, which once again means black or blackness and or Ethiopian. You would ask, why would they be named that? Well, let's get some historical records on that. Why would they be named after Ethiopians? All right. Well, let's get the historian and politician Tacitus, born in 56 AD. He was a Roman historian. Let's go to the Histories of Tacitus, page 399, which reads, many assert that the Jews were an Ethiopian race driven out by fear or hatred to seek a new home in the reign of King Cephas. So you have many people that asserted that the Jews were of an Ethiopian race. That would make sense why they would have a Ethiopian name. Now, of course, they weren't really Ethiopians, but he's trying to tell you that they were mistaken for Ethiopians, meaning what? They were dark-skinned. That's what that means, right? But let's get some more evidence on that. This is engravings known as the Lachish reliefs, right? The Lachish reliefs are a set of Assyrian palace reliefs narrating the story of the Assyrian victory over the kingdom of Judah, right? Now you go to the siege of Lachish. This is during 701 BC. Sennacherib, king of the universe, king of Assyria, sits on the throne of the spoils of Lachish and paraded before him. British Museum. So this is the Lachish reliefs, right? Now when you look at these people right here, these are the people of Israel. Now we're going to see what someone had to say about these people that are the people of Israel. We're going to go to Edward Plumtree, born in 1821. He was an English divine and a scholar. And we're going to go to page 448 in his book, Assyrian and Babylonian Inscriptions and Their Bearing of the Old Testament Scriptures. So this is what he had to say. He says, it is significant that the captives are for the most part represented as having woolly hair as though they had belonged to the Ethiopian army of Tirhakah. So he says these people had woolly hair as if they were Ethiopians. Remember, this guy Tacitus said Jews, many asserted the Jews were of an Ethiopian race. And he was saying that this woolly hair that they had was as if they were part of the army of the Ethiopians, right? Straight up, like they belonged to the Ethiopian army. But when we look at Sir Austin Henry Layard, he doesn't say these are Ethiopians. These are Israelites. Sir Austin Henry Layard, guy born in 1817, he was a historian. All right, and this is what he had to say about it. 129, page 129 of his book, Discoveries in the Ruins of Nineveh and Babylon. He says the captives were undoubtedly Jews. Their physiognomy was strikingly indicated in the sculptures. It says Jewish captives from Lachish. So these same people that this guy said had woolly hairs as though they belonged to the Ethiopians on these Lachish reliefs, right? And let's do a comparison side by side between a so-called African and their hair texture with the Lachish reliefs. So this is an Assyrian relief. This is the Lachish relief. This is the bust of a mid-century African woman, bronze head from 1950s. Look at this hair. Look at this hair. Same hair texture, right? These are Assyrians flaying Hebrews alive. This is an African sculpture. Same hair texture, right? Same hair texture, right? This is the picture of a Saracen's head of a Moor in Italy during the 1500s, right? And this is a Blackamoor sculpture. They got the same type of hair structure, right? And the Israelites are even compared to the Ethiopians when you go to Amos 9 and 7. You go to Amos 9 and 7. It reads, are ye not as children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel, saith the Lord Yahawah? Have not I brought up Israel out of the land of Egypt, and the Philistines from Caphtor, and the Syrians from Ker? So it says, are you not as the children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel? So Israel was compared to the Ethiopians. In other translations, it says, are not you Israelites the same to me as the Cushites? Are not you like the Cushites to me? All right, like meaning similar to, right? Are you not like the Cushites to me, O children of Israel? Are you not as the children of Israel? All right, and apparently they were so much like that people felt comfortable naming their children after Cush, which once again was a Hamite. So you have Israelites with a name Cush, which signifies black or blackness and or Ethiopia. Isn't that interesting? All right. God's word translation, you people of Israel are like the people from Sudan, says the Lord. Yeah, all these different versions, right? So if that wasn't enough, now we're going to go to some more historical records, right? We're going to go to some more historical records. Let's go to this article that you can look up. You can just Google this. You just type in "with and without straw, how Israelite slaves made bricks," right? How Israelite slaves made bricks by Robert Littman, Marta Lorenzon, and Jay Silverstein. Which, by the way, these are all Caucasians. All right, these are all Caucasians that say that these people are Israelites. Let me just keep in mind. All right, now let's first prove in the scriptures that we did do things without straw to make brick. That's Exodus 5 and 6. And Pharaoh commanded the same day the taskmasters of the people and their officers, saying, "Ye shall no more give the people straw to make brick, as herefore let them go and gather straw for themselves." Now, in this study find that these people came to, you will see that it reads, slaving away. It says, Nubian and Semitic slaves mix water and mud to create mud bricks while a seated Egyptian official oversees their work. Now, I had some guy in my comments when I did a video on these wall inscriptions, he was like, "Oh no, the dark skin is just what signifies hard labor. They weren't actually dark skinned." Shut the hell up, man. That's what I be saying, man. I tell you straight up, if you're not an Israelite, man, get off my channel, man. My videos are not for you, man. All right, you just wasting your time. Because I'm not about to cater to your delusions, man. All right? I'm not going to cater to your delusions. But anyway, let's get another book. Or let's get another study. This is a Pictorial History of Jewish Civilization by Bezalel Narkis. All right, he was an Israeli art historian. This is what he had to do in his book. By the way, this book's like, how much this book costs? $398 or $854. This is an expensive book. And these are the findings of the book. This is what the Hebrews looked like that were in Egypt, according to his book. All right, they got the afros. All right, they got the afros, and look at the skin color. All right, so that's a historical record. So we went to the historical record. We also went to the word and what the word cush means, which means blackness. Now we're going to go to the scriptures that further substantiate why I'm saying this, to further prove my point that the Israelites were in fact dark-skinned people, right? All right, brown complexion to black complected people. This is Songs of Solomon 1 and 5. This is Songs of Solomon 1 and 5. "I am black, but comely. O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon." So it says, "I am black, but comely." Other versions, "I am dark but lovely. I am black and beautiful, black and lovely, black but lovely, black but lovely." And it says what? "As the tents of Kedar." These are the tents of Kedar. So they compared themselves to the complexion of the tents of Kedar, which these are the tents of Kedar. Meaning what? They had that cushy skin. They had that dark skin. Right? Songs of Solomon 1 and 6. "Look not upon me, because I am black, because the sun hath looked upon me. My mother's children were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyards, but my own vineyard have I not kept." So it says, "Look not upon me, because I am black." And it said the sun darkened them, right? Well, so-called black people get darker in the sun, right? These are tan lines. This is the rest of the skin tone that is in the sun, all right? The tan lines are not getting hit by sunlight. That's why they're tan lines, right? Because black people darken in the sun. There's the tan lines. There's the tan lines, right? Lamentations 5 and 10 speaks on this. Lamentations 5 and 10. "Our skin was black like an oven because of the terrible famine." All right, New Living Translation. "The famine has blackened our skin as though baked in the oven." Why? Because there was a drought, meaning it was hot. Heat causes a famine, right? It'll burn the crops up. I am a farmer, right? And if we don't get any water, our crops get burnt up, right? "Our skin is black like an oven because of the burning heat of famine." This is a woman who took a picture of herself in the wintertime versus a picture of her in the summertime. This is the same woman. This is her, right? She was darkened by the sun. All right, the famine blackened her skin, right? We go to Job 30:30. "My skin is black upon me, and my bones are burned with the heat," right? I remember when I first came into the truth years ago, man, I was getting in this argument with this Edomite. And this Edomite was saying, "Oh, no, he was saying his skin was black because of disease." Well, can you please show me the disease that you get that makes your skin black? I'm waiting on that. Is this reverse vitiligo? But anyway, Job 30:30. My skin is black upon me, and my bones are burned with the heat. Herodotus said the same thing about the Egyptians, which we'll touch on the Egyptians in a minute. Of course, here we go. Let's see what Herodotus had to say, a guy known as the father of history. In his book, The Histories by Herodotus, he was an historian, of course. He said the same thing about the Egyptians. He says, the people dwelling there, the Egyptians, are black because of the heat. Just like what Job said. My skin is black upon me and my bones are burned with the heat. See that? Same thing, right? Now, a so-called white man will probably type in my comments the same thing they always type. Buddy, I got a scripture that'll debunk that. They also say they're white. Right? And he's talking about Songs of Solomon 5 and 10, right? Why is my mouse messing up, man? Come on, dude. See that? Satan always trying to take away the word, man. But I could just use the arrow keys. Since my computer want to play crazy. So they're going to try to use Songs of Solomon 5 and 10, which reads, my beloved is white and ruddy, the chiefest among 10,000. They'll say, look, it says my beloved is white and ruddy, right? Well, first of all, you have to understand something. When you read Songs of Solomon 5 and 10, it's saying white. It's not talking about his complexion. How do we know? Well, when you go to the account, it says white, clear, plainly, dry, right? Clear, plainly dry. Let me unplug this and plug this back in. My mouse is going crazy, man. 1 second. Bear with me. Salaki. Hopefully that fixed it. Right? But anyway, when this word white, it says dazzling, glowing, clear, bright. Right? Dazzling, glowing, clear, bright. In other translations, it doesn't say my beloved is white and ruddy. It says my beloved is radiant and ruddy, dark and dazzling, radiant and ruddy, dazzling and ruddy, white and ruddy. All right, so clearly it's not talking about skin complexion. It's compared to sunny, bright, clear, like a clean slate, right? Other translations, yeah, dazzling and ruddy, radiant, ruddy, dark, dazzling, dazzling and reddish. We're going to touch on this word ruddy next because they'll say, well, what about ruddy? Well, let's deal with the word ruddy. Let's deal with the R word. All right, ruddy is mentioned in the scriptures 4 times, or at least the Old, the New Testament. I don't know. I can't recall if ruddy is mentioned in the Apocrypha. But either way, we're going to touch on what ruddy means. Right? So ruddy is used in 1 Samuel, Songs of Solomon, and Lamentations. So ruddy, it says ruddy, red. All right. Red or to be red. Now check this out. It says, the dark-skinned Hebrews found great beauty in a clear complexion. Now, when you think of red, you might think, oh, like a redneck, right? No. Because today, when you look at ruddy, you're going to get a ginger. That's what they're going to give you as a definition of ruddy, a ginger. But that's not what ruddy means. These are just more lies from the devil, right? More lies from the devil. How do we know this isn't what ruddy means? This ruddy is talking about reddish brown, and I'm going to prove it to you. So this word ruddy, when I type in a ruddy cow, reddish brown. Ruddy horse, reddish brown. Ruddy goat, reddish brown. Notice it's not white and red, it's reddish brown. That's what ruddy means. Ruddy cat, the Abyssinian cat, which really means the Ethiopian cat. The ruddy cat, reddish brown. All right? King David is described as ruddy. This is what ruddy means, is a reddish brown tinge. All right? Even if you typed in a ruddy person, this what popped up. Right? But let's prove that. Oh, and then an example of an African tribe, a so-called African tribe that is ruddy, would be the San people, the San people, or the Khoisan, which they are a copper-colored, reddish-brown people. All right, as you can clearly see. And I'll even get a proof of that about so-called black people being ruddy or clear-complected. This is Alan Howard Godby. He was a writer. He was a Methodist minister, Methodist historian, teacher, writer, scholar in the field of the Old Testament, Hebrew history, archaeology, and Semitics. He was born in 1864. He died in 1948. He wrote a book called Lost Tribes of Myth, which we'll be looking into. Right? I don't know why this computer is going crazy. But he talks about a tribe known as the Foot, the Put, or the Fulas, or the Fulani, or the Pulbi, right? They all mean the same thing. They're just different names. But he's going to talk about it. He says, Foot is the son of Ham, right? That is a vassal of Egypt. Now the Fulas, who have pushed across Africa from Somaliland to Senegambia, and the lower Niger, have the very tradition that they are descendants of Foot, the son of Ham. So these people, which today would be known as the Fulani, right? When you look it up, it says they call themselves the Pool, the Fool, plural, Fulbi. Check this out. Ruddy, clear, brown people. I say that one more time. Ruddy, clear, brown people. These were reddish brown people. And I'm actually going to show you what the Fulani tribe looks like today, right? These are the Fulani people. Ruddy, clear brown, reddish brown. These are the ruddy people. These are the Fulani tribe, reddish brown. You see that? I'm going to get another guy who talked about the reddish brown Africans. This is Gerald Massey, an English poet. He was into spiritualism and he was into studies of ancient Egypt. Gerald Massey wrote a book called A Book of the Beginnings, right? And he's going to make another claim about this in page 17. He says, the red skin, similar to the complexion of the earliest men on the monuments, is not an uncommon variety of the Africans. So reddish brown skin is not an uncommon variety of the Africans. I just showed you the Fulani people. I showed you the San people, right? He's going to name another tribe. All right. Bodwich asserts that a clear brownish red is a complexion frequently found among the Ashantis, although deep black is the prevailing color, right? So the Ashantis, by the way, the Ashanti are Israelites. They're an Ashanti tribe. I'll do a video on the Ashanti at some point. But the Ashanti are Israelites. And there's even a singer named Ashanti. Now, I don't know if she had bleached her skin or whatever, but she has that clear reddish-brown complexion. Then there are some reddish-brown people of the Ashanti tribe even today. Reddish-brown, reddish-brown, reddish-brown. All right, they're not all very dark-skinned. All right, black people come in different shades of brown anyway, right? Let me get this before I move on. Notice he said clear brownish red. Notice he said ruddy clear brown people. And notice when we go back to the word ruddy, it says the dark skin Hebrews found great beauty in a clear complexion. The clear complexion they're talking about are these type of complexions, right? So-called red bones. But anyway, moving on. Now we're going to go to Daniel 10 and 6, right? We're going to go to Daniel 10 and 6, which reads, his body was also like the beryl, and his face as the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms and his feet like in color to polished brass, and the voice of his words like the voice of a multitude. Now, just reading this, you're like, oh, polished brass. But when you go to these other translations, it says burnished bronze, right? This word, it says gleam of burnished bronze. Now we go to Revelations 1 and 15. It says, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burn in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. Now keep in mind, this is talking about our Lord and Savior, whose name is yahawashi, all right? The only begotten Son of the Heavenly Father, all right, whose name is Yahawah. But anyway, or the world ignorantly calls yahawashi, they ignorantly call him Jesus Christ. But anyway, Revelations 1 and 15, and his feet like on a fine brass, as if they burned in the furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. There goes that fine brass again, right? Polished brass, fine brass, but other translations it says burnished bronze, burnished bronze, burnished bronze, burnished bronze, burnished bronze. Right? This is the color of burnished bronze. All right, you see it's dark brown. All right, so we touched on historical references. Now we're going to go to the Holy Scriptures to further prove. Actually, we already did that, Salakia. Now we're going to go to mistaken identity. This is the portion of the video on mistaken identity. Because all throughout the Scriptures, Hebrew Israelites were mistaken for Egyptians, right? Now, the modern Egyptians are what they want you to believe the ancient Egyptians looked like, but that is not the case, and I'm going to prove that now. But first, let's prove that different Israelites were mistaken for Egyptians, right? Mistaken identity. Let's go to Moses, right? So Moses, let's see. Let's go to. I'll just read it as is, right? Exodus 2:7. Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew woman, that she may nurse the child for thee?" And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Go." And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, "Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages." And the woman took the child and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter. And he became her son, and she called his name Moses. And she said, "Because I drew him out the water." Now, in order for Moses to blend in with Egyptian society, he clearly had to look like the Egyptians. You see what I mean? And he did look like the Egyptians. We're about to read that in the account of Exodus 2:15, right? It reads, "Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses, but Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well," right? Now the priests of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled troughs to water their father's flock. Now check this out. This is important. They're going to think that Moses is an Egyptian. Exodus 2:17. "And the shepherds came and drove them away, but Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock. And when they came to Reuel their father, he said, 'How is it that you are come so soon today?'" This is what they said about Moses. They said, "An Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and also drew water enough for us and watered the flock." So they mistook Moses for an Egyptian, all right, because he looked like an Egyptian, right? Now we're going to get another account of Joseph being mistaken for an Egyptian. Now Joseph's brothers, Joseph was one of the 12 tribes, one of the sons of Israel, and Joseph was sold into slavery by his very own brothers. He was sold on to the Egyptians, right? And we're going to get that account in Genesis 37:23 on down. So we go to Genesis 37:23. It says, "And it came to pass when Joseph was come unto his brethren, that they stripped Joseph out of his coat of many colors that was on him. And they took him and cast him into a pit. And the pit was empty, there was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread, and they filled up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead from their camels, bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt." And this also shows that the so-called Arabs that's in that land today, this shows you that the Ishmaelites were traveling down to Egypt way back then, all right? Before they hijacked the land. But anyway, "And Judah said unto his brethren, What profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come, and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh." And his brethren were content. Then they passed by Midianites, merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver, and they brought Joseph into Egypt. So they sold him to the Ishmaelites, who ultimately sold Joseph as a slave to the Egyptians. Because when you go to Genesis 37:36, it says, "And the Midianites sold him into Egypt unto Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh's and captain of the guard." So he was sold to an Egyptian guard. The Ishmaelites sold Joseph to the Egyptians, right? Now, why am I bringing this up? Because later on, they're going to see Joseph again. All right, he's going to be of high status. And they're just going to mistake Joseph for an Egyptian, which means, once again, not only did Moses look like an Egyptian, Joseph looked like an Egyptian. All right, you follow me? So let's keep going. So when we go to Genesis chapter 42 and verse 3, it says, "And Joseph's 10 brethren went down to buy corn in Egypt, but Benjamin, Joseph's brother, Jacob sent not with his brethren, for he said, Lest peradventure mischief befall him. And the sons of Israel came to buy corn among those that came, for the famine was in the land of Canaan." Now check this out. "And Joseph was the governor over the land, and he it was that sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brethren came and bowed down themselves before him with their faces to the earth." Right? So Joseph, he made it to the top, right? Because the Most High was with him. All right, he went from being a slave, he went from rags to riches. All right, he went from being a slave to the second in command of the Egyptians, man. But anyway, "And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but made himself strange unto them, and spake roughly unto them. He said unto them, Whence come ye? And they said, From the land of Canaan to buy food." So Joseph recognized his brothers, but they don't recognize him. You read about that in Genesis 42:8. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew not him, right? So another translation says Joseph recognized his brothers, but they didn't recognize him. All right, meaning what? Joseph was like, oh, these are my brothers. But they were like, oh, this is just an Egyptian officer. They did not know the difference between their brother Joseph, who was an Israelite, and an Egyptian. See that? Right? All right, because Joseph looked like the Egyptians. Paul was also mistaken for an Egyptian when you read about it in Acts chapter 21 and verse 37. We're going to read that now. And as Paul was to be led into the castle, he said unto the chief captain, may I speak unto thee? Who said, canst thou speak Greek? Now this is what they say, Acts 21:38. Art not thou that Egyptian, which before these days made us an uproar and led us out into the wilderness, 4,000 men that were murderers? So they mistook Paul for an Egyptian. You go to Acts 21:39, it says, but Paul said, I am a man which am a Jew of Tarsus, a city of Cilicia, a citizen of no mean city, and I beseech thee, suffer me to speak unto the people. So he corrected them. No, I'm not an Egyptian. I'm a Jew, which goes back to the tribe of Judah. Really, it goes back to the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, the southern kingdom. We know that because Paul was a Benjamite, but a Benjamite is still considered a Jew, right? Because a Jew is really of the southern kingdom, which again consists of Judah, Benjamin, Levi. Anyway, moving on, right? So he said, I'm a man which am a Jew. Now we're going to look at the pharaohs to prove who the ancient Egyptians are. And no, the ancient Egyptians did not look like modern day Ishmaelites and or Arabs, right? So when you ask the Google machine, you say, were the Egyptians black? It says the claim that all Egyptians or even all the pharaohs were black is not valid. It says most scholars believe that Egyptians in antiquity looked pretty much as they look today, with a graduation of darker shades toward the Sudan. So they say, oh no, they pretty much look the same. That's a damn lie, right? And not only that, a lot of people will say, oh, the only black pharaohs were in the 25th dynasty. Well, let me go first. First of all, it is true that all the pharaohs weren't black. That is true because Egypt was conquered multiple times. Egypt was conquered by the Chaldeans, which, by the way, they were black. But Egypt was conquered by the Greeks, the Romans, the Turks, all right, and the Ishmaelites. All right, so it was conquered multiple times. Was it 640 AD or something like that? That's when the Arab invasion happened on Byzantine Egypt. Anyway, so they say, oh no, they always look the same, from antiquity. And then you'll see certain Egyptians, they'll say, look, see, we look like this. This is what we always look like. But they're just hiding something. They're lying. Once again, I don't trust any of these heathens. I don't trust any of them to teach me my history. That would be foolish. But now we're going to prove that all the pharaohs didn't look like this, right? I've proven this a billion times. We were going to go to the first pharaoh of the first dynasty, Pharaoh Narmer, right? Pharaoh Narmer, right, of the first dynasty. We're going to look at what he looked like. So this is Pharaoh Narmer, also known as King Menes, also known as Narmer Murad, because some people say that Pharaoh Narmer was really Nimrod, all right, which Nimrod was what? The son of Cush. Nimrod was an Ethiopian, right? But I'll do a video on Nimrod at another time. But I just want it to be noted that some people say that Pharaoh Narmer was Nimrod himself, all right? So anyway, this is a picture of Pharaoh Narmer. This is a picture of Mike Tyson. Nose, ears. I don't know who this brother is, but look, Pharaoh Narmer, 4240 BC, the founder of Kemet. All right, he's got the flattish nose. These are what's known as negroid features, but we'll get that in a minute. So let's go to the second dynasty, Pharaoh Ninetjer. This is Pharaoh Ninetjer of the second dynasty of Egypt. Right? Look at the nose of Pharaoh Ninetjer. Look at KRS-One's nose. They got the same nose, the flattish, so-called negroid nose. Right? And look at this hair as well. This hair is still a popular hairstyle amongst the Hamar tribe in Ethiopia. All right, that's a popular hairstyle even to this very day. But as you can see, KRS-One has the same nose as the second dynasty Pharaoh Ninetjer. All right, and that's what's known as so-called negroid features. So a flattish nose, a flat root of nose, narrower ears, narrower joints. So that's what's known as the negroid features, this flat-like nose. I'll show you some examples. This flattish nose, all right, the flattish-like noses. The same one Ninetjer had, the same word Pharaoh Narmer had. So this idea where this broad, all right, points to her and say, oh, we all look like this, cap. But anyway, let's keep reading, right? Khufu, Pharaoh Khufu of the 4th dynasty. Let's see what he had to look like. This is in 2566 BC. This Pharaoh Khufu, he got the flattish nose, the negroid nose. Pharaoh Khufu got the flattish nose, right? Let's go to Pharaoh Menkaure, 4th dynasty, right? 2530 BC. This is Menkaure. You see this hair underneath this little hat he has. He has the same hairstyle as, once again, the Hamar tribe women, right? So let's go to the next one. Let's go to Neferfre of the 5th dynasty. Pharaoh Neferfre of the 5th dynasty died in 2455 BC, right? This brother, I ain't gonna say brother because he's a Hamite, but this man, he got waves in his hair, man. The man got waves in his hair, man. Look at that. This is Neferfre. These are so-called African-American blacks with the waves in their hair, man. No way around it. And this tells you the scriptures are right once again. There's no new thing under the sun. It tells you that in Ecclesiastes 1:9. The thing that has been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun, right? They been had waves back in the day. Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It has been already of old time, which was before us. They had waves way before your great-grandpa, you heard me? So we're going to keep moving on. We're going to go to Nayu Sereni, 5th dynasty, died 2422 BC. This guy also has the KRS-One flat light nose, right? Same flat light nose, you heard me? So it's no way around it, man, right? We're going to go to Pepi the First, 6th dynasty pharaoh of Egypt. Look at this so-called African man. Look at this Pharaoh Pepi, however you say it, Pepi, whatever, man. And they even got the woolly hair like spiral textures, right? All right, now I'm gonna get 2 accounts from 2 different men that say that the ancient Egyptians were black, even though I just proved my point already. But let's just get some books some people wrote, right? So this is a guy born in 1757 in France, a guy by the name of Constantine Francois Chassebeau. He was a philosopher, abolitionist, writer, and Orientalist, and he wrote a book called Travels Through Syria and Egypt in the years of 1783, 1784, and 1785. All right, where he says straight up, he's talking about the Sphinx. He says, when I saw its features, precisely those of a Negro, I recollected the remarkable passage of Herodotus in which he says, for my part, I believe the Colloqui to be a colony of Egyptians, because like them, they have black skins and frizzled hair. That is, that the ancient Egyptians were real Negroes of the same species with all natives of Africa. Meaning what? He said they all look like all the other Africans. Not this BS North Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa that they make up now. Let me tell you something. Most of them North Africans are invaders, man. All right? I'm not about to argue with you heathens about it either. Go argue with your mama. But now check this out. He says ancient Egyptians were real Negroes of the same species with all natives of Africa. And though, as might be expected, after mixing for many ages with Greeks and Romans, they have lost the intensity of their first color, yet they still retain strong marks of the original conformation. Right? Then he goes on page 83. He says, behold, present barbarism and ignorance of the Copts descended from the profound genius of the Egyptians and the brilliant intelligence of the Greeks. When we reflect that to the race of Negroes, at present our slaves and the objects of our extreme contempt, we owe our arts, sciences, and even the very use of speech. To who? They owe them to the Negroes, man. Right? Now let's go to Jean-Francois Champollion, born in 1790. This man himself is known as the father of Egyptology. Jean-Francois Champollion is known as the father of Egyptology. And he also said that the ancient Egyptians were so-called black people, right? You read about it in his book, Lettres Escrites d'Egypte et Danube, in 1828 to 1829. I'm going to translate that for you. That really means letters written of Egypt and Nubia in 1828 and 1829 by Champollion the Young, new edition, right? And now this was written in French, but because, for y'all. I know most of y'all don't speak French. I don't either. We're gonna translate all this right from this letter. All right, we Google translated. So this part right here that I got highlighted, it translates, this appendix part, it translates to appendix summary notice on the history of Egypt written in Alexandria for the viceroy and delivered to his highness in November 1829. Now we're going to read all this stuff. We're going to translate it. It says, the ancient Egyptians. Actually, hold on. It says, yeah, let's get this part. It says, the ancient Egyptians belonged to a race of men quite similar to the Kenis or Barbus, current inhabitants of Nubia. So he's saying the ancient Egyptians look like the Nubians. We do not find among the Copts, which are modern day people, the so-called people that look mixed race or Arabic-like. We do not find among the Copts of Egypt any of the characteristic features of the ancient Egyptian population. So he's saying right there, the Copts don't look like the ancient Egyptians. Then he says the Copts are the result of the confused mixture of all the nations which successfully dominated Egypt. It is wrong to want to find among them the main traits of the old race. See that? So another guy that says they were mixed, just like Chasubo said, mixed with the Greeks and Romans, right? And you could throw the Arabs in there too, because they mixed with them as well in 640 AD and upwards. But yeah. And these are the Nubians, just for those that were wondering. Yeah, these are the Nubians. Yeah, so-called blacks. Now, before I get out of here, I'm going to get some more name examples. Because like I told you, Cush and Cushy are not the only name examples of Israelites being named after so-called black people. All right? Not just words like Cushy or words like Cush. But also, I'm going to give you a couple other examples before I get out of here. When we go to name examples, we go to Acts 13:1, which reads, now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers as Barnabas and Simon that was called Niger, and Lucius of Cyrene and Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch and Saul. Now this word here, Niger, it's really the N word, but I can't say it because of YouTube. But that's really how you pronounce it. It's the N word. It's not Niger, right? Now, Niger is where you get the N-word. That's where I'm going to go. First of all, Simon, which was his name, that's a Hebrew name. It means hearkening or listening. Simon is a Hebrew name, all right? And Niger means black, and it was a surname of Simon. This is Eastern Bible Dictionary. It says Niger, black, a surname of Simon. He was probably so called from his dark complexion. Niger equals black, surname of the prophet Simon. Now check this out. Strong's definition, Niger. That's how you say it, right? Straight up. The N-word is in there, and they was calling Simon that. Why? Because it's dark complexion. And Niger turned into the N-word later on. Look at that. Derogatory. The color black. Niger turned into the N-word. See that? Straight up. And I'm going to get one more example. You read about a guy by the name of Phineas or Phinehas, however you say it, right? Or Panehas, right? The brother name, he was the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron. All right, so he was the grandson of Aaron. His word, Phineas, it means mouth of brass, but check this out. It's his proper name, Egyptian, Panahasi, the Negro. See that? The Negro. The name of 3 Israelites. The Negro. So, yeah, that's pretty much it on that, man. That's an easy one. That's a dub. So, anyway, that's the end of this video. Cushy or Cush, the black son of God, right? And I just gave you examples of Israelites named Ni, ... Ger, Israelites named Cushy, Israelites named Cush, Israelites named Panahasi, which translates to the Negro and or mouth of brass. And I also went through the history of the Egyptians and the ancient pharaohs, what they don't show you, all type of stuff. I went to the historical documents of the Israelites being compared to the Ethiopians. I went to the scriptures where it says that my skin was black through multiple passages. So that's pretty much it on that, man. And with that, I say peace to the 12. And I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father, the Most High Yahawah, in the name of His only begotten Son, yahawashi. Yahawah is the name of the Heavenly Father, who is commonly known as God. Yahawashi is the Savior of the nation of Israel, who is commonly known as Jesus Christ. Worship Shalom, which means peace to you brothers doing this work, truth, sincerity. You elders that's been doing this thing before me, and to you people that are out there listening and learning. On to the next one. I'm gone. Peace. Shalom.